Hello and welcome back to the Soft Edges podcast. I am your host, Lucy, and as per usual, I am here today in the great company of my fabulous co-host, Mayas Raquel, and we are both so thrilled, yet a bit sad, to welcome you to the very last episode of season 1 of our podcast. Can you believe it? Oh,
unbelievable, unbelievable. Oh my
Where
god.
has time gone, right?
I know, seriously, I'm feeling so many different emotions about this episode. We're literally saying goodbye to our beloved pleasure activism. We have given so much time and labor to this, and it brought us so much joy.
Oh,
Seriously.
so much joy.
It's so
much
difficult.
Joy. Yeah, it feels very bittersweet because, of course, we're very proud of us and so happy to have recorded 12 episodes going through this amazing, beautiful book. And we had so much fun doing it. It feels like such an achievement to finally read the last few pages. But at the same time, I am sad to say goodbye to pleasure activism, you know?
Feel the same. Like, we cultivated a really beautiful space, I think, for a really caring and attentive discussion of this amazing text. And it brought us wonderful listeners, and we're now even followed by the goddess Adrienne Marie Brown herself, which I'm so thrilled about.
Yes.
I'm so excited about that. And yeah, I'm so happy with all of that, with our joyful collaboration again. It's always wonderful to collaborate with you, and it's Soft Edges became a beautiful manifestation of our energies together. I love that.
Completely agree. I love it too. Absolutely love it. So in today's episode, we are going to cover the last chapters of Pleasure Activism, The Politics of Feeling Good by the one and only Adrienne Marie Brown. So between the pages 419 and 441. Are we ready to dive in?
Yes, let's do it.
Wonderful. So the first chapter we're going to talk about today is called The Pleasures of Deep Intentional Friendship, a conversation with Dani McClain and Jodie Tonita. In this chapter, we are introduced to Dani McClain and Jodie Tonita, with whom Adrienne Marie Brown shares a deeply loving and intentional friendship. They refer to each other as woes, which Brown describes as, quote, friends who are committed to working on excellence. Woes is a way to identify people with whom you have an increased accountability and responsibility for manifesting your best life. This term came to me via Drake, end quote. What a beautiful term.
Yes.
And honestly, it was very new to me, but as I read through their conversation, it became crystal clear that this is the type of friendship that I believe everybody needs in their life, and we will see why in a few moments. But before we do so, let me briefly introduce you to Adrienne Marie Brown's amazing woes. Dani McClain is, quote, a fellow at Type Media Center, author of We Live for the We, The Political Power of Black Motherhood, and a contributing writer at The Nation who covers reproductive health. Her reporting and commentary on race, gender, policy, and politics have appeared in outlets including Slate, Talking Points Memo, Al Jazeera America, Color Lines, Ebony, Guernica, and The Rumpus. This is taken from typemediacenter.org. As for Jodie Tonita, she is, quote, the co-founder and director of the Social Transformation Project, STP, an organization that works in a systemic way to shift the leadership culture and practice of the progressive movement by providing methodology and direct service that both challenges and supports leaders to innovate, disrupt conventional definitions and divides, and generate new possibilities and alliances. And this is taken from broadbendinstitute.ca. Unsurprisingly, both of them sound oh so wonderful, so passionate, and incredibly creative. So this chapter, this conversation, is full of little gems of precious and invaluable insight. The first thing that actually caught my eye was how Brown referred to the essence of their friendship as, quote, intentional co-evolution, end quote. Yeah, I loved that. The idea that some friendships can be more than simply hanging out or knowing each other on a deeper level and are based on the intention to evolve with one another to encourage and support each other's growth. Bringing intention forward in friendship is, I think, pretty fucking magical.
Yeah, definitely.
Throughout Dani, Jodie, and Adrian's conversation, we get to learn about how they met, what they learned from each other, how this relationship shaped their relationship to pleasure, in what ways they show up and support one another, what this friendship brings to them and what each of them brings to this friendship, and how they fell in love in Wolove, actually.
Yes, it was such a beautiful conversation.
I know, right? It just filled me with so much joy.
Yeah.
Yeah, to witness that kind of commitment in love, in care, in
Yeah.
accountability, difference and change, it just gave me this boost of loving energy and hope. If more folks practiced Woe's friendship, I believe the world would be so different than what it is right now, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But actually, speaking of Woe's friendship, I believe you and I have quite a similar relationship.
Yes, we do. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and I mean, it started quite randomly, but also very intentionally at the same time, and intentionally in a synchronicity kind of way, I believe.
Yeah.
That our paths were kind of meant to cross at that point in our lives. And we met basically during our very first year of our studies in the Rietveld Academy in Amsterdam. We were both in this, how would you call it, a preparatory year? Is that what it was called?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like that first year.
Me forgetting what it was.
The pre-course, yeah.
Yeah, the pre-course, exactly. And
Yeah.
I would love to share my very first memory of you, if that's all right.
Yes, do it.
Yes, so the very first time my very first vivid memory of Mayas, let's just put it that way, is we were in the same class. And I remember, I think it was one of our very first design classes with one of our great teachers called Carla.
Oh, yeah.
And I just remember that suddenly you started talking about your own creative practice, and it felt like it was the first time I was looking at you, and I just remember feeling so impressed, but also very like, wow, shocked by your beauty.
Oh.
I was like, damn, that's a handsome human being.
Oh my god. I also thought you were gorgeous. We should have fucked.
A missed opportunity right there.
I know. Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you.
Of course. I really thought, wow, he's really beautiful.
Oh my god. Thank you so much. That's so sweet.
I also remember thinking you might think that I'm super creepy because I was looking at you all the time because of how in awe of your beauty I was.
Oh my god. Were you just staring at me? That's so romantic. I wish I caught your eyes from the other side of the room.
I know, that would have been, ooh, very like chick flick kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah, but that's literally mutual. The first moment on, I also thought you were fucking gorgeous.
Oh, thank you.
And my first impression of you was that you were super kind and you were exuding this genuine openness. You seemed so thoughtful, and throughout the months, of course, in that course, I noticed how hardworking you were, and I loved the projects that you came up with.
Oh, thank
that you came up with during the first year. Yeah, I loved it. I was really impressed with whatever you did and the way you talked about it as well. And the funny thing, it's not funny, but it is funny. You deserve it. The funny thing is, you looked so together, but now that I know you better, you were actually struggling a lot that year.
I was hiding it well.
I know, you had a great poker face. I thought, wow, she really looks together.
Oh, wow.
And you were going through
illusion.
one of the messiest years of your life.
I mean, honestly, we talked about this so many times, but that first year was rough.
I know, girl. Yeah.
But it was still, I mean, meeting you was one of my favorite memories from that year because we weren't really close at that point. I think our friendship deepened in the last 3 to 4 years, I would say. Would you agree?
Yeah, exactly. Especially after we both selected the same department to specialize in, which was the moving image department.
Exactly.
Yeah, Yeah.
And we got to work together and to really learn more about each other. And we just formed a very instant connection. We went deep, I think, from the very first moment we started talking. We went really, really deep and intimate, which was lovely.
Yes, that intimacy was so easily available to us in our communication. I loved how we bonded around that. That kind of a trust. There was this given trust between us, that we
Yeah.
could just talk about anything. And yeah, over the years we got closer and closer, many experiences. We've been through lots of shit together. And I regretted meeting you ever since. I think
Same.
No, it was so wonderful. I'm really thankful for everything that brought us together.
Yeah, honestly, me too. We've had such a beautiful journey together, and witnessing you grow and evolve and become more and more liberated, becoming more and more slutty. I love that. I love sharing every part of your life together. I feel very grateful and honored to be there to witness you walk through your beautiful path.
I feel the same about you. I feel really privileged to really witness it so close by, to be involved in your narrative, in your story, in your life story. You come with all kinds of beauty. You come with your whole wonderful self. You come with your wonderful parents.
Yes.
Wonderful life. Everything about you, I love to share always.
Aww.
And I always look forward to catching up with you.
Same. I feel the exact same way. And I'm so happy we got to actually catch up finally in person.
Yes.
Last week, I think you organized such a lovely little date for the both of us for my birthday. Yeah. And that was just the best. I felt so loved, and it just, you're the only one who could celebrate me like that, apart from my parents, of course. But honestly, it was so wow, so touching, because we hadn't hung out in so long, outside of quote unquote work, although this podcast doesn't feel like work at all.
Yeah.
But it just felt great to see all of the efforts and love that you put into our little gathering was just wonderful. And it just, it reminded me of how much love we put in each other's lives, I think, and into 100%. Our relationship.
Yeah, 100%. So true. Yeah, because of the fucking curfew, we had to leave much earlier than I wish. We were just getting our hose on, we were just getting our little tempo and fun on towards 9 p.m., 10 or something, and then fucking curfew came.
Yeah.
But we will make up for it. We'll be fine.
Oh, for sure. I'm hoping that by April 28th, I think they're planning on lifting the curfew. So hopefully we can finally hang out.
Exactly. So we're 2 weeks away at the moment recording it.
Yes.
Yep. Brown also says something about the pleasure of interdependence and how it shows up in our love and friendship. And I love that. I find it so valuable when I'm in a friendship with a solid sense of trust in our interdependence. And I have that with you. That's also so wonderful.
Yes.
I have always had it with you. And over again, you always proved your trustworthiness all the way. I could always lean on you when I needed you. And when you were available, you always tried to be there for me. Be it a personal crisis or professional division of labor in a collaboration, you always showed up in your whole truth and effort. You're one of the most trustworthy people I've ever known. And that's also so precious to me in our friendship.
Thank you so much. I feel the exact same way about you. But honestly, it demands zero effort for me to show up for you in whatever way that I can. This is just what I feel like doing. That's genuinely what I want to do for our friendship. That's automatic. It's like breathing. It doesn't require much effort on my side.
I love that. I feel like one of the incidents that gave us this vast trust bond was when you were peeing in a moving bus holding my arms for support on the way back from Kassel.
Yes, because I had drank beer right before getting on the bus, and these bitches didn't want to let me use the toilets that were in the bus, literally.
Exactly.
And I was like, well, then I'm gonna fucking pee in the cup. Myers, would
I
you help me,
know.
please?
Both of us crouching with a large McDonald's cup under you, holding on my arms, and me telling you, Lucy, let it go. Pee it all out. Then sitting next to each other with you holding a cup of your own pee for I don't know how many hours.
This is still to this day one of my favorite memories with you, and this is probably one of the most bonding experiences I've ever experienced in my entire life.
I even gifted you a drawing of that scene. You have
I know. I
still
have that. I still have that drawing. It was hanging above my bed for years.
I know. That moment, I can't. It's hilarious.
Ugh, the absolute best.
Yeah.
Oh, what a gift to be alive.
Yes.
For these kind of moments.
Yeah.
I love it. But going back to the chapter, the wonderful conversation between Dani, Jodie, and Adrian, I really loved the way that they answered Adrian's questions, actually. And to the question, what brings you to the woes, Jodie answered, quote, "It's the place where we are fully seen and held, and all of the parts of us are welcomed. We're here for each other's greatest longings, desires, and wounds." While Adrienne Marie Brown adds that it's a place where she practices deep honesty as well as humility, where she's not afraid to say she does not know how to do something, but where she knows she will always receive compassion and care. And for Dani, it's how the woes reminds her to pay attention to her whole self as a woman, a writer, and not forget herself in work or motherhood. And I feel like this also applies to our friendship. I feel like we give each other exactly that, exactly what each of them shared. I feel very safe with you. I feel very safe in sharing my doubts, my quote unquote weaknesses, what I don't know when I need help, but also my joys, all of that, everything that life throws at us, you know. I feel very grateful to have this kind of safe space in you.
I have that with you as well. You know, I have shared with you things that I've done that I would never, ever share with anyone else, maybe other than my sister. You know the darkest depths of my soul.
Oh, it is dark. It is dark. It has spider webs everywhere.
Stop it.
It's very old.
No, but you know exactly. I feel very safe with you as well. Really, I could really, I would know that you will hold that space for me to feel whatever I'm feeling.
Of
or
course.
You will hold it dear when I tell you my biggest mistakes or the most terrible decisions. I know that I won't be. I mean, you will judge me, but in the most hilarious way. You will turn it into this judging joke. But I will know that deep down you're not judging.
No, of course.
You know, so that's really amazing.
Yeah, I think we're very lucky to have found each other because and to have been able to build that kind of safe space for one another, because I also feel like I can make mistakes and tell you about it, and even if it's mistakes within our own friendship, you know, that happens, conflict or disagreement, and what I really admire about us is that we always talk it out in such an open and radically honest way, and we always respect each other in their mistakes and their doubts and in those peaks and valleys of someone just going through emotionally draining things that could affect their behavior and stuff like that. So yeah, it's something that I really, really value and that I very much cherish.
I do as well. We can discuss anything, even when it can be uncomfortable between us.
Yeah.
Because we both are always open to hear reason, each other's perspective, and we both do our best to understand always. That's the position we try to hold.
Yeah, and we
the best
never
of our abilities,
we never make excuses for ourselves. We're always very, very honest about having I don't want to say like caused like deep pain, but at least like hurt one another or made a mistake of some sort, caused a disagreement, a miscommunication, we're always gonna own up to that and say, hey, like I fucked up here and I'm sorry, and what can I do to not make that mistake again? What if I do this? Would that be better? We're always looking for solutions together, and that's something that I truly appreciate.
Same as well. And it sounds easy, but it's actually super rare in relationships.
Yeah.
I mean, at least in my relationships, it's been difficult to find people who can engage in such radical honesty and understanding and totally let go of their ego or their attachments, of their idea of where they should stand, what kind of position they should take, related to their upbringing or what they're used to, but just to really be open in that moment and just come to whatever is needed, wherever is needed to be in that moment. That you were able to do that so well, and I love that.
It took work for sure. I don't want to make it seem like it's super easy, but I think it's something that you can definitely work on together in your friendship. It demands practice, but the more you practice it, the easier it comes. And it doesn't mean that the discomfort or the pain is necessarily taken away from such moments and such conversations, but at least you know better how to navigate that kind of honesty.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so going back to Dani, Jodie, and Adrian again, to the question, what have you learned about pleasure in this relationship? Jodie said, quote, I've learned I love pleasure and can notice what pleasures me and create it. She then interestingly highlights how Adrian is a pleasure extrovert while Dani is a pleasure introvert, which I found so incredibly interesting. I had never thought of pleasure in terms of extroversion or introversion. So my question to you, Mayas, is would you describe yourself as a pleasure extrovert or a pleasure introvert, and how do you differentiate the two?
I think I'm quite an extroverted person when it comes to pleasure and expressing my pleasure. Yeah, I really do that. I think I have been doing it even before pleasure activism, but now I do it more mindfully. Now I do it knowing what I'm doing. But I've always been really vocal about what feels good, what my longings are. I felt really like open to share those things with people, always.
That's so cool.
Yeah, exactly. Or making other people notice what kind of pleasures they are engaging with, you know?
Yeah.
When they suddenly do something good for themselves, I would be like, wow, this is amazing that you're doing this for yourself. It must feel so good for you. And, you know, making them also aware of that action and be like, yeah, indeed, actually, I'm doing something good for myself. It's pleasurable. I'm definitely a pleasure extrovert in that sense.
Yeah, that's pretty
wonderful.
wonderful.
How do you define yourself?
I would say that I'm a bit of both, to be honest. Just like you, I am a pleasure extrovert in the sense that I love spreading pleasure around me by experiencing it myself and also encouraging other people to live their pleasure fully. But introvert as well, in the sense that I also really enjoy certain pleasures and keep them a little bit more intimate to myself. I think there are certain pleasures that are even more pleasurable to me when they are not shared with anybody but me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, I just found this distinction quite interesting. I had never thought of it that way, so I wanted to
that's very
bring it forward.
Actually.
Yeah.
And I can totally relate, like having some things just for yourself and keeping that pleasure for yourself, not really necessarily sharing it with someone else. That's also very valuable. Yeah.
And I also loved Dani's answer to the question, what do you feel like you bring to the woes? And how she brings her attention and care, as well as a, quote, helpful dose of the mundane, end quote, since her lifestyle shifted quite a lot in the past few years, as she says herself. And she no longer shares some of the, quote, fabulousness happening in woes land, end quote. meaning a ton of travel to fabulous places, a lot of high-level work with some of the baddest organizers and thinkers in the country and world, a lot of freedom around thinking about what's possible in sex and in love. Her life is rather different now. She says, quote, I wash a lot of dishes, prepare a lot of food, do a lot of nursing, sweep the floor a lot. I do a lot of thinking about how to best piece together childcare and manage family relationships, end quote.
Amazing.
And in doing so, she noticed how they learn so much from each other in that lifestyle shift and difference, saying, quote, I remember not to give up on the fabulousness of life, and you both witness what's tough for me and fill in incredible ways to lend support, end quote. And so I was wondering, Mais, what would you say you bring to our Woland?
Oh. Radical loyalty for sure. I will cut a bitch in your defense. I will cut a bitch in half. I hope I bring you reflection. I hope I can be a mirror to you sometimes, and on me you can see the state that you are in, even when you yourself are under a lot of fog, to really see what something or some situation has done to you on me when you share it with me. Or to understand what you might need in a certain situation. If I can come up with that offering, like, maybe, do you think you need this? Do you think you need to do that? And I will always tell you what I observe in all honesty when I know that you are open to hear them. And when you doubt your own freedom and your choices, I will remind you of them. Like, you have choices. You have your freedom. I will always be there to remind you of that when I feel that you're kind of forgetting them. And when I catch opportunities, I will share it with you. I will encourage you to do things that you might think that might enrich you. And I will always defend our wholeness in the face of judgment or pretentious coolness, by which I'm referring to all these parties that we probably made total fools of ourselves, but we just had so much fun.
Oh yeah, who the fuck cares?
I will prioritize our fun and joy. 100%.
Yes. I completely agree with everything that you said. You definitely bring a lot of support and care and clarity. And that's what you bring forward with such grace and such intention. The clarity that you add to my life whenever I need it. I know that I can always ask you for advice. You give the best fucking advice. You have such a great outlook on things and such valuable insights that you can always share so eloquently as well, which helps so much because sometimes, as you know, my thoughts are just kind of everywhere. And in that moment, you're just this stabilizing, anchoring presence, which is so wonderful to have.
Oh, thank you. That's really nice to hear.
Of course. That's the
I'm
truth.
Curious, what do you think you bring to our worship?
Well, I think that in our worship, I bring audacity, first of all.
Yes.
One of my motto is no shame in my game. And as you have witnessed many times, there is no shame in my game when it comes to making a fool of ourselves, twerking in the middle of parties, saying the wrong thing at the wrong time.
I always love it, and I would be laughing wildly next to you.
Oh yeah, I mean, still to this day, one of my favorite memories with you was mimicking a blowjob in the middle of the dance floor.
Oh my god! Oh my god! No, the shocking part is actually too discreet. Maybe like we can't share it here. The shocking part of that memory.
We won't share the shocking part, but
yes.
But that was fun. That was so much fun.
I also
audacity.
love the moments of like you and I totally drunk on the couch. It's that time of the night, and like your hot boyfriend is sitting next to us, just chatting with other people, and we both are mimicking like diving into his dick.
Yes. Diving head first.
Exactly.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Like you displaying your diving skills to me. And I think we weren't even talking. We were just like two
We were miming.
Exactly.
For like 20 minutes.
For like a good hour. Just miming stuff and just giggling.
Oh my God, we are so inappropriate at all times.
Terrible. We're terrible.
But yes, definitely audacity, as we have just described.
Definitely, yeah.
And also, I think, I'm always down to share deeper and deeper, further and further, even if it gets dark or cloudy or embarrassing even. I feel like that's something that I also really value, these moments where we can be vulnerable with one another, and vulnerability is something that I truly appreciate in a friendship. So I think I also bring that, being as raw as possible, even if it means admitting my wrongs or embarrassing myself or going really dark during a conversation. I feel like this is the way we can learn about little darker corners of our lives, of our souls, that maybe needs to be spoken out and loud, and that can bring so much relief. So I think I also bring that into our worship for sure.
You really do that, and that's so liberating in communication.
Yeah, it really is. I feel like, and you can't really do that with everybody, although I hope, I mean, I wish we could, but of course there are certain boundaries in different friendships, which is totally okay as well. But I do think it's a super valuable thing to do, and everybody can benefit from it when you're doing it with the right person.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah. And as we've mentioned before, I also bring a lot of inappropriate humor.
You bring so much humor, and you bring a space for our secret extreme humor. And I love how we can be ruthless in our jokes with each other. We have so little that is off the limits.
We have almost no limits, I think.
Yeah, and you crack me up all the time. It's
so
hilarious.
do
That
you,
was
bitch.
One of the things I noticed the earliest about you was your fast comeback skills. And I was like, okay, here's another chatty bitch. This is gonna be fun.
I'm pretty witty, to be honest.
Yes, you really are.
Yeah, but it takes quite the intimacy for me to be that witty. It takes me a while to really be that fucking sharp, and I'm extremely sharp when I'm with you, because we're just so close that I just feel like I can be as fucking inappropriate as I want to be and roast you till the end of times.
I know.
And talk shit and stuff.
Yes, of course. It's the best. I love it.
Yeah, it really is.
You also bring really like deep listening, like true engagement and thoughtfulness and care. You always do that. And, when I had that terrible crisis with that guy in Venice, you were there for me immediately and giving me so much relief.
Of course.
Even though, like, you could have been like, girl, this is not my drama, Like, you are in a deep, dark place.
Do you imagine me saying that? Like, no.
No, never. But, you were really, really super sweet. And in so many other occasions as well. You really bring a friend to whom I can just trust without thinking twice and share anything I want to share safely. And also, you bring so much dedication and quality to our collaborations. Both technically and creatively. Your skills really help our visions come true in, like, crucially very beautiful ways.
Thank you. That feels so good to hear. I really appreciate that. Honestly,
I love that.
I really do. I feel the same
That's
way
why
about
it's
you.
such a pleasure to collaborate with you, because we put our everything in it together.
Honestly, yeah. We are equals in energy dedication, I think.
Yes.
Which
100%.
feels very, very relieving, honestly, because
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not like a tug of war. It's also, it never feels unfair, the amount of energy that we
Hmm.
put in our creative projects. We're always communicating, we're always doing our parts, and I know that I can count on you. And when there's delays, and it's fine, and we're never like on top of
Exactly.
each other saying like, oh, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. Like,
No.
we're like, are you okay first? Like, how are you feeling?
Absolutely.
What's going
Excuse
on? Do you
me,
need more
nothing's more
time?
important. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I also really appreciate that about you, how you always put first our personal well-being, our
Hmm.
mental health, our emotional well-being as well, before the work that we have to do. And but you
Yeah.
also keep it very professional, of course, but I feel like we are in that space where we can be super honest with each other and say, hey, like, I can't
Hmm.
record this week. I didn't have time. I'm not in the right headspace. Is it
Yeah.
okay if we postpone? And always you receive that with such kindness and care, and I really appreciate that, because it's not in all professional relationships or friendships even that you have
Yeah.
that kind of understanding and compassion.
Absolutely. You do the same for me. And our priority is our beautiful love and friendship and worship and all of that. Because when we decide to embark on a collaboration together, um, these are not our written rules or a contract or something, but it's a given that we both know that if we say, okay, Bish, we're doing this, right? Yeah, we're
Mm-hmm.
doing this. Then we know that we both really do put their everything in it, and they will do everything to keep it fair, to keep it fun, to keep it beautiful, to keep it right, to improve it. But
Yes.
then we are also humans and we have
Yeah.
sometimes terrible days or we're just tired or we just don't want to do it,
And sometimes the
And
day
then
sucks. It just sucks and you can't fight against it.
exactly. And we're totally open to that. And that's really wonderful as well. That's the
Yeah.
kind of that's like the foundation of the kind of professional relationships I also want to build and maintain,
Mm-hmm.
where the
Absolutely.
priority is our humanness and
Mm-hmm.
how we feel about things, rather than just this obsession with productivity and keeping up
Profit.
and profit. Yeah. No, hell no, I really don't care.
No, me neither.
No.
I would much rather prioritize having an aligned, completely aligned friendship like we have, which will, because it's so aligned, I feel like that's why also the way that we work together professionally works so well, because we're
Yeah.
not only aligned in our professional endeavors, but also in our personal and intimate relationship, which I find so
Hmm.
incredible. And I mean, we
Yeah.
talk about this all the time about how our lives literally are so parallel, but also
Yeah.
how much I don't the word effort feels odd, but how much effort we put in building in continuously building and strengthening our relationship.
Yeah. Very
Yeah.
true.
Would you like to share something about this wonderful conversation?
Just a couple points. Like Dani and Adrian Murray Brown, you and I also share a love of writing, of
Mm-hmm.
thinking deeply about things, a love for storytelling. And this shows up a lot in our communication. We engage with each other's narrative of life very deeply, with deep curiosity. And I love to hear whatever you have to tell me when we catch up with each other. I really like that. And there was also another point when Dani talks about like being available for the last minute drink at the end of the workday, the random stop by in the middle of a Saturday afternoon to sit on the porch and soak up sun.
Yeah.
When I read that, I noticed that our meetings, you and I, are most often planned ahead, like a good week or so. And I was curious to think of the reason for that. Like maybe it's because our friendship was formed around an often quite like mentally intense art education, so spontaneity wasn't possible a lot of the times, or maybe the Amsterdam weather is often discouraging to jump on a bike and meet up.
Yeah.
or is it just our personalities that we weren't that available for a lot of spontaneous meet? I mean, we had that as well, but not so much. What did you think of that?
That's a really good question. I think for us, we're both, I think we're both social, but at the same time, I mean, I'm going to speak for myself first because I can't speak
Mm-hmm.
for you, but I'm also someone who is a homebody, and
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to like spontaneous meetings, it kind of takes me, how would you say? I always feel kind of like this surprise effect, and then I have to adapt my mental space and my emotional state to the spontaneous meeting with a friend in that moment, depending on what kind of friend it is, honestly. But I think that's probably a reason on my part that it takes me a little bit to adapt to a situation, to a sudden change in my plans for the day, for example. But yeah, what do you think?
No, I can relate to that, definitely. I agree. That probably is a big part of that as well. For me too. Often I have an idea about how my day will go, and I am open to spontaneous meetings or spontaneously getting outside the house and such. But yeah, most often I have quite a good idea about how my day will look or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Same. Yeah, same. I like to have like a little bit of a heads up, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand, definitely.
Even if it's just a few hours. To me, like, if you tell me, oh, in 3 hours, do you want to meet up? To me, that's spontaneous.
Yeah, same, exactly, by the way. But you know what I also think? Maybe it's not only us, the entire conditions around us that is surrounding us in this city, in this country we live in, or whatever we were doing, we were studying and such. Maybe that also impacts it. And I actually would love to experience a period in my life where I'm completely open to spontaneity. And
Me too.
just really just that it works so well. Maybe it'll have to be in a different country, in a different city.
I agree.
Doing something else. But I think I would be up for that as well. I will just have to be at peace with that and accept that this is how life is now. Spontaneously doing things.
Yeah, that's so interesting. But I also agree with you. It might be an environment and cultural thing. Because I know that, for example, my family has a house in Norway. And in Norway, they just show up at your door randomly, your neighbors, for example, or your friends, without calling you in advance. And they're just like, hey, I'm here for coffee. And like, no heads up, nothing. And that's totally normal. You can just go to your neighbor's house and knock on the door and say, hey, do you want to hang out?
Oh, that's nice.
And that's really nice. And I was always very surprised because we spent most of our summers there. And there would always be someone coming by at least every 2 days just to say hi. And I think it's super nice. It can be, maybe it can feel a little bit intrusive at first, for sure. But once you're used to it, I found it absolutely lovely.
In Turkey, we had that culture as well, actually.
Oh,
when
really?
I was growing up. Yeah, a lot of neighbors would just stop by and such.
Oh, that's so nice.
Tea. Yeah, we had that, definitely.
Ooh.
So I don't know why I'm like this.
What went wrong, Mayas?
Yeah, I don't know.
A lot.
But I think I have that openness to it. When everything else works, that will work for me as well.
Oh, yeah, I can see it working for you as well. I feel like you are a spontaneous person to begin with. It's just
for sure.
A cultural thing, I guess.
I think so too. And I guess I accepted the cultural thing that's surrounding me in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
So,
and it's also okay to have different boundaries, I think. Maybe for me right now at that point in my life, although I do like to spontaneously meet from time to time, I'm also someone who really needs to have an energy shift and to adapt slowly. And I do appreciate when my friends know that I need a few hours of a heads up before I can give my full self to our encounter.
Yeah, I understand. Definitely.
Yes, maybe it'll change though.
Yeah, why not? It can change.
We are officially halfway through this episode. Thank you so much for sticking with us this far. We hope you're having fun. We hope you're enjoying, because we sure are. All right, we're gonna take a short musical break, and we'll be right back. Yes.
And, except from the school trips, you and I are still yet to go on a vacation together, which is so embarrassing.
Yeah.
Why? Like, okay, our studies were really busy, and during the summer I would be in Turkey or traveling somewhere else.
That's true,
or
yeah.
You would be in Paris, but come on, we wanted to do it after graduation, but the pandemic came. But I'm really looking forward to it, to travel with you, to go on a vacation with you.
Me too, honestly. We've been talking
wait
about
for
this
that.
for years,
I know.
literally.
Like,
And
come on.
I feel like we deserve it as well. You deserve a vacation.
Yes, definitely.
So we should
Yeah.
definitely do that as soon as this whole pandemic thing is over, if it's ever over.
Yes. No, we will do it. I think it's really getting close.
Yeah, and we don't have to go
Yeah.
super far either. We can definitely stay in Europe, even go to France, for example,
Yeah, I would
together.
love that. Absolutely.
Yes.
France is one of my favorite countries. I'd love to go.
Ah, it's a lovely country.
Yeah. And the last thing I wanted to share with you about this, regarding this text, was I was also thinking, how did our connection save my life, you know? And I think it did save mine in certain ways, because without you, I would have felt way lonelier here in the Netherlands, even though we both have wonderful other friends here. But
Yeah.
our intimacy really brings me home, and that's a matter of survival to me. If I don't have that kind of intimacy, that's so lonely. I would
Yeah.
be very lonely. And our collaborations really enriched me so much that it brought me a stronger ground to stand on, you know, even after graduation, doing things together. And in general, I could have made so many other mistakes had I not received your support or advice. And then also sometimes receiving your advice, but still knowing that I have the space to decide to make this mistake because I know that you won't be judging. You know?
Yeah.
All of that saved my life, honestly.
That's so good to hear and so touching, but I feel the exact same way. I agree with you. The kind of intimacy that we share literally saved my life a lot of times, even when I had very dark moments of feeling completely at a loss. I would think of you, think of our friendship, and I would think, at least I have this in my life, and this is something that I know deep down in my heart that's always gonna be a constant until I fucking die. And that is so comforting, to be quite honest, and I think that's why it saved my life multiple times.
Oh my God. That's so beautiful.
But it's funny that you mentioned this non-judgment space, because exactly Adrienne Maree Brown says at some point, the quotes, "The woes are a place I can trust to ask, is this a mistake? Well, can I still make this mistake?
Yes.
No? Bet."
I loved that. I loved that so much.
I loved it. And I mean, that's exactly what we do too.
Yeah, that's really what we do.
We're like, should I? Should I not? Maybe I shouldn't, but I'm going to do it anyway.
And then I'll send you screenshots.
Yes. I think we do encourage each other to make mistakes, actually. We're always like, just do it. You'll see what happens afterwards.
It's like you obviously feel a longing for it, so just do it. I'll be here.
Yeah, whatever happens, I'll be here.
Yeah. You
And
can
we'll
come
figure
cry
it
here,
out.
or you can come laugh here. We can do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the next chapter we're going to talk about is titled Principles and Practice, written by the wonderful, the one and only Adrienne Maree Brown. And to introduce this last chapter, I would like to read its very first paragraph. Quote, "I am in multiple communities that put an emphasis on practice. In the allied media community, we have articulated principles that matter to us, and we have focused on how we embody those principles as a matter of practice. In the generative somatics and Black organizing of leadership and dignity circles, we recognize that we are what we practice, and we become what we intentionally practice with our somas, our whole selves. As this book begins with pleasure principles, I would like to land the plane with practices that explicitly bring the principles to life, practices to root us in pleasure activism here and now, and in the future we are shaping. These are practices that make us pleasure activists, not just in theory, but also in the practices of our lives, awakening a pleasure politics that makes justice and liberation irresistible." End quote.
Yeah.
Wonderful introduction.
Yeah.
On the last 2 pages of this book, Adrienne Maree Brown shares with us practices to help us root ourselves and our lives in pleasure activism in a tangible, embodied way. And I'm going to read through these principles. The first one being attention liberation. Use meditation to learn to have agency with your intention, bringing it to the breath or sensation or pain or solution or transformation. The second one is practice pleasure in your own body and life. Notice what brings a yes to your lips, to your center. Make a pleasure journal. Put signs around your house to remind you of your pleasures. Feel pleasure every day. Don't let your body or your heart forget why we fight. To feel aliveness and togetherness, we will grow. The third one, find the ease. There are aspects of this life that are an uphill battle, and we seem to still be on the ascending portion of that long arc bending towards justice. But we can sustain the struggle if we find all the ease available to us, the places where we can flow together, coast together, and rest. Here, Adrienne Maree Brown highlights the balance she has found between her work, her work, values, and drive, and the undeniably important needs to rest. She says, quote, I do not rest in terms of how I work. I tirelessly show up for movements I believe in, to hold planned or unexpected hard conversations and mediations, to invite transformation in the face of frustration. But when it comes to my body, I rest. I rest in myriad ways that allow me to show up fully for each facilitation. I want to give us more permission to rest our bodies so that we don't burn out our spirits and minds in our lifelong commitment to liberation, end quote. The next one is, in organizing work, center pleasure as an organizing principle. Feed people great, healthy local food that nourishes them when they come to a meeting. Take the time to affirm the people and affirm the learning that sometimes masquerades as failure. Be unconditional in your commitment to movement. Be transformational in every area of your life and work, and center pleasure and joy as resistance. The next principle is, set generative boundaries and hold them. The next one, only say yes when you mean it. Take responsibility for your part of this fractal existence and cultivate pleasure and joy in your life, knowing that authentic pleasure is good for the whole human system. Be absolutely committed to your process, to doing what you are doing in the best way you possibly can. Be detached from any outcome. Be satisfiable. Learn what enough feels like in your body. Don't settle. Don't overindulge. The final one, you are a miracle. Act like it. Don't waste it.
Beautiful.
And that's the end of all the practices that Adrienne Maree Brown shares with us in this almost final chapter.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, it feels, wow, I had chills reading through them again.
Yeah.
It really feels like a manifesto we should all hang everywhere in our living spaces, workspaces, to remember them wholeheartedly, fully.
Yeah.
After reading these practices that Brown shared with us, Mayas, which ones do you believe you already practice, and which ones do you believe you need to work on implementing deeper into your life?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. For example, when she says only say yes when you mean it, is still a very helpful principle for me, because I still do compromise on my yes a lot, actually. Honestly,
you really
I need
do,
to be more decisive and grounded with this. Like, I need to stop compromising on my yes and say yes only when I really mean it. I also found the one with, like, find the ease really important, because I think this is what the ruling class constructed the entire society for themselves, for ease. You know, the entire system is built with the consideration that the elite should always have ease with everything, in the expense of the pain and hardship of others. And so, unfortunately, under this system, we need to create these ways to bring ease into our lives. And that's definitely something that we need to learn practicing better.
Yeah.
Because that's literally held away from us, hoarded somewhere else, the ease.
Oh, yeah.
We need to create systems to, give each other more ease, actually. And actually, one of them is, I really want to make a pleasure journal, for sure. I pre-ordered Adrienne Maree Brown's upcoming book, Holding Change, from AK Press. And so it will come with a beautiful notebook because I pre-ordered it from the website. You should also do it, girl.
Oh, I'm literally going to do that right after this.
Yes, I'm planning to use that notebook as my pleasure journal. So yeah, I think that's a great practice that I want to do better, but also to pleasure ourselves and pleasure others, to feel pleasure every day, to remember feeling alive and together. That's something I want to do more. I don't know. I mean, all of them were really helpful. On the way out, Brown really gave us some crucial information to really make us like pleasure activists, not only in theory, but also in practice.
Ooh, yes.
To make it move through us. And yeah. The last one is maintaining this agency over our attention. And that may sound not that difficult, but it's actually something I sometimes find extremely challenging because our attention is demanded from so many different corners at the same time, constantly. It's demanded by our work, by our inner circle, by the state, by the companies that pay good money for our attention, all these advertisements everywhere influencing us. I think this makes it a really important practice, maintaining agency over our attention, to not be exhausted, to be able to stay focused, to actually move towards what we want and desire. And I think it's absolutely crucial. We need to learn to say no to so many different demands for our attention and make better boundaries around it.
Oh, fuck yeah. Boundaries is a key word here.
How did you feel about this?
Yeah, I mean, to me, all of the practices that Adrian Murray Brown shared with us are, each of them, I think, hold so much value and so many benefits if we can apply them. And of course, I don't think it's necessarily easy to apply in your everyday life like seamlessly, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they are such great reminders, and they are definitely applicable and actionable in so many ways. And personally, I think I can work on implementing deeper all of these principles. All of the above. There are two specific practices that I either have practiced or do practice at the moment. The first one being meditation, which is a practice I want to go back to with more intention and discipline. And when I talk about meditation, that includes meditation while working out, meditation while cooking a meal, for example, meditation while doing yoga, and of course the more traditional way of meditating, which for me involves guided meditations or silent/solo meditations.
Amazing.
Yeah. The second practice is taking responsibility, cultivating pleasure and joy in my life while being fully aware that pleasure is good for the entire human system.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, as you said. And as for the practices that I particularly need to work on as of right now, from my personal perspective, the first one I think is only saying yes when I mean it, just like you.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. And also being detached from any outcome, and also being satisfiable. These are the three practices I struggle with the most, and therefore those that I wholeheartedly want to work on intentionally implementing into my life until they come natural to me.
Yeah.
I want these practices to become an integral part of my life, my soul, my true self. I've started practicing only saying yes when I really mean it, but it's still tough. Somehow, not gonna lie.
You got much better at it, though. You really got much better at it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're really clear with your yeses and nos, and it really works out in communication.
Yeah, I think so too. I've seen progress, but it's still something that I can feel needs a few little tweaks, you know?
Yeah.
But thank you for saying that. I appreciate it. Actually, I'm also working on that in therapy, funnily enough. Of course I am.
Yeah, cool.
And knowing when something is enough is also a big one for me. I tend to overindulge in certain aspects of my life, while in others I tend to settle for less than what I deserve or need, because I think that subconsciously a part of me still believes settling means taking less space, and therefore not bothering anybody, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yep. That's a deeply anchored pattern that I need to detach myself from. For sure.
That anchor is buried so deep.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's gonna need a lot of therapy sessions.
Exactly.
And for the final one, being detached from any outcome, it's also a tough one, honestly, but I think it's one of the practices I've made the most progress with in the past couple of years. I'm much better at jumping into something new, a project, an adventure, a relationship, a job, without overstressing about whether or not I will fail, quote unquote fail. I'm also better at not beating myself up or feeling disappointed in myself when something does not work out somehow. It's
Yeah.
not easy. It's definitely a work in progress, and it's especially difficult when for someone who like me has an obnoxious amount of anxiety.
Oh.
But I can see and feel my progression in that area, which I'm very proud of.
Mm-hmm. I
Yeah.
love that for you. That's amazing. You're really working on these things, and I can observe change and growth definitely, and I can try to help you with that more as well with all of
Thank
these
you.
practices. Yeah.
Thank you. We can help each other out with these practices for
Yes,
sure.
absolutely.
Yeah. Reminders, accountability, all of that jazz.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you like to share anything about this wonderful, wonderful practice list?
No, I'm ready for death tonight.
You're ready for
Oh my god,
death.
I'm imitating Katya the drag queen. I'm not doing a random Russian accent, just for the record. Oh my god.
Katya, oh my god, what an icon.
No, I'm ready to move on to the next one.
Well, on that lovely note, we are going to move on to the actual very last chapter and section of Pleasure Activism, The Politics of Feeling Good, by the gift of a human being that is Adrienne Maree Brown.
Yes.
And that is section 6, the outro, the thank yous. Oh my god, we're almost done.
Oh my god, no.
And what a mesmerizing last text, last
Wow.
written work. What a powerful last chapter. On these last few pages, Brown lets us even deeper into the journey she traveled while / by writing this book, doubts and pain included. One of my favorite moments is actually at the very start of the text when she said, quote, "There have been days when I doubted if this book still made sense as the next offer I wanted to make to the world. I would dismiss myself, try to dedicate myself to more quote unquote serious things. And then pleasure would save my day or my week or my life. Pleasure reminds us to enjoy being alive and on purpose. Again and again, I have realized that our misery only serves those who wish to control us, to have our existence be in service of their own. Again and again, I have had to surrender to the truth and freedom of pleasure." End quote.
Yeah, she tapped into the core. What else can be more relevant than this? Even climate justice takes its root in pleasure activism,
Oh, yeah.
I would say. She tapped into the very core of everything.
Literally the source of everything.
Yeah, absolutely. But I totally understand her doubts, of course.
Yeah, no, same, honestly. But
Yeah.
I feel like this short paragraph is now literally tattooed onto my soul and bones.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful in its vulnerability and in its honesty, radical honesty, but also such a beautiful reflection, such a beautiful piece of herself that she's giving us, and of this book, this last little gem in the last page of this book. I love that she started off like that. And this is something that I want to remember every single day of my life, even when the darkness feels too thick and when it's hard to breathe. And I want you, Mayas, and all of my loved ones to remember and to learn or to relearn to surrender to the truth and freedom of pleasure. I think it's so valuable, and these words feel like rays of fucking sunshine carving my heart.
Yeah. And another wonderful lesson I found in these very words is you can be doing something that will quite literally change the world and still be doubting yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, Adrienne Murray Brown, by deciding to take pleasure, quote unquote, seriously, she created a very powerful influence that allowed us to claim and center it in our lives as well. I think her decision impacted the world greatly.
It really
Really,
did.
really did. Her recognizing pleasure as the measure for freedom created a mass revelation of this fact, I think.
Oh,
She
yeah.
really offered it to us as a medicine for the wounds of our hearts and our spirits and our systems as well. In the long run, this text is already changing the world, and we will owe a lot to this wonderful work. We
I
already do.
I completely agree, and it will
Yeah,
continue to change the world, to be honest. I
yeah.
wholeheartedly believe in that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Ah, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Before I ask you my closing questions, I would love to hear how you felt reading that last chapter and which
Yeah.
moments caught your heart.
It was such an incredible outro. Brown said goodbye at the end of this book with just the right words. It was a poetry to me again, honestly.
Yeah.
That brought tears in the end as well. I really was tearing up at the end.
Yeah.
Um, you know, when she said, quote, I touch my own skin and it tells me that before there was any harm, there was miracle, end quote. And this means
Mm.
so much to me because it gives me the hope for true healing, for how we still contain that miraculous self no matter what happened to
Yeah.
us in these terrible systems in this lifetime.
Oh,
And she also reminds us to listen to the bass notes of our lives, the harder to notice patterns and to work hard to answer our callings, you know.
mm-hmm.
I got so much out of this outro. She even quotes Halil Gibran here again, like not
Yes.
again, like directly, and her assurance of Halil Gibran's value and his work's value remind me of the beauty of some of his work as well. So even that,
Yeah.
um, yeah, and also quote, "Let it shape a future where feeling good is the normal primary experience of all beings." Like, yeah, seriously. All of that, you know, and then
Yeah.
that's all. Adrian Mary Brown says and ends with a heart. That was
Yeah.
so beautiful. All of that was so beautiful. This
I
outro was so wonderful.
it was the most wonderful way to end this book, and I think I read this small section, this small outro, like literally 6 times, to be
Yeah,
honest,
yeah, right.
because I wanted those words to be anchored in me, and I will keep rereading this whole book and entire sections of it
Yeah,
for as long as I need to, which is probably gonna be for the rest of my life.
yeah. Oh, you know what? I also want to point out the genius it would take to make an outro, to write an outro that does justice to the rest of the book. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
absolute genius,
Imagine
so
having to
brilliant.
write an outro to Pleasure Activism, to all that material she gathered and wrote,
Hmm.
and then she had to make an outro to it, and she did it in the most perfect way ever.
Most perfect,
That
most
takes
beautiful way.
such genius, such organization, such um, control over all of that material, the
Confidence,
mastery
for
it
sure.
takes. Yeah.
A
So yeah.
masterpiece. A
Oh my god,
masterpiece,
such a
absolutely.
masterpiece. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
close off this wonderful chapter, meaning
Hmm.
this beautiful book's last chapter, and
Oh.
the first chapter, first season of the Soft Edges podcast as well,
Yeah.
I would like to ask you 2 questions, which will bring us back actually to the first episode that I hosted, because one of the questions is a bit more serious, a bit deeper on an emotional and intellectual level, and the other one is more lighthearted, which is something that I did in the first episode that I hosted.
I remember, yeah.
So, do you have a preference? Which question you want to start with?
The first one. I mean, like the more serious one.
The more serious one.
Yeah.
I get you.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. So my question is, how has this book and Adrienne Murray Brown changed your relationship to pleasure, to yourself, and to the world?
Wow. I've read this book in 2019 the first time, and already then it was mind-blowing to me. It was liberating, affirming, awakening. It was wonderful. It was erotic. It was joyful. It made me long for more freedom. And after that, I actually discovered the emergent strategy too. And then her blog, Adrienne Maree Brown is precious to me. I seriously think she's just a genius that brought so much to my life with her work, with her understanding, with the way she communicates these very complicated truths and thoughts. And I think I'm still yet to see how deeply she changed my life and transformed me. But I also must say, like, having done Soft Edges with you, with the care and attention and labor we poured into this, I accessed another depth of this text that I didn't in 2019. You know what I mean? Because we literally divided the entire book into 12 episodes, and each week we did deep reading and research and sat at these microphones well prepared. And I hope we also provided our listeners with really nurturing material, but I know for sure that we provided ourselves with something incredibly transformative.
Absolutely, yeah.
Incredibly, like this kind of study we did on this book. It almost feels like a proper study we did on this text. And that has been really transformative for me as well. Really, I am so happy that you and I embarked on this journey together, and we picked Adrienne Maree Brown's Pleasure Activism as our beginning text, and this is literally the foundation upon which we built Soft Edges. Like, it was all of that, yeah.
Perfection.
Yeah. How about you? Can I direct the same question at you?
Yeah, of course. Well, this book is, of course, filled with beautifully valuable insight, with vibrating vulnerability, and with badass folks and incredible practices. It truly opened my mind on a level I didn't even think was possible, to be completely honest. And the funny thing is, all of what I've learned seems to have finally been digested by my mind as I turned the last page of the book. It's been digested, and now I can feel it infusing and diffusing throughout my whole body. Because of this book and all of the wonderful folks in it, I learned that embodying my pleasure is my right, my birthright as a human being, as a queer woman of color. I learned that guilt and shame, although they do not serve me, are feelings that I should not beat myself up for. That my sensual pleasure is for me to own and embody fully. That shrinking myself, my needs, for the sake of other people's comfort is only hurting me. And that radical honesty can be hard to practice, but is so fucking worth it. Yeah. So many things that would take an entire 2-hour episode to talk about. But
it took an entire season.
Yeah, it took an entire fucking season. But all of those things have shaped the way I feel and carry and bring pleasure. There is a shift in me, and I can feel it, I can touch it, but I would have a hard time describing it at the very moment. And just like you said, I feel like it's going to take me a little bit of time to actually pinpoint everything and notice the change in a more tangible way.
Yeah. And I'm also already looking forward to our return to this book again. Like a second time for you, or a third time for me,
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Beautiful. All the takes you had from this book. Incredible. I share it as well.
I already feel nostalgic about this whole season.
Yes. Same, me too.
The transformation we went through by diving so deep. Just like you said, I mean, we really had such a special experience going through this book. Very special. Yeah. And so my second question, let's move on to the more lighthearted one to close this off.
All right.
If you were invited to a dinner with Adrienne Maree Brown, Octavia Butler, and Chanel Gallant, what would you bring? It can be food or drinks, but it also can be something completely different.
Oh my God. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Think about this and think about this well.
All right, I think I know. I think I would make a mold to be able to make a chocolate alien penis. And and I would fill it with different layers of wonderful flavors of cream. And I would serve it on a platter on which I wrote with chocolate cream, "Fuck you, pay me."
Ooh, that's very arousing, actually.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
That is such a great plan. Very creative. Very, wow. I see why you went to art school.
Okay, tell me, what are you bringing and putting me to shame?
Well, ideally, the way I imagine it, would meet on a sandy beach somewhere. So I'd bring comfortable beach towels, of course, wine and cigarettes for those who'd like some. Goggles as well to go snorkel and be in awe of the underwater world together and let our beautiful bodies float in the warm waves of the ocean. That kind of romantic setting, you know. I might also bring mushrooms to take late in the afternoon and welcome the night and travel to other realms with them.
Oh my god, you bitch.
I would also bring a notebook to write down whatever feels right in the moment, whatever I'd feel the need to remember later on, which would probably be everything. I mean, come on, it's those three iconic people. And finally, I think I'd bring my inappropriate humor and my most open and vulnerable self.
Well, there you have it. Perfect time.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like an ideal evening to me. Wow, yes. I wish I could do that.
Wow, what a dream.
I wish I could be mermaids with Adrienne Mary Brown, Octavia Butler, and Chanel Gallant. What a dream.
Oh, the group. I can't.
I know.
Unbelievable. Oh my god.
Dream team, dream trio.
Yes.
Amazing. Thank you so much for answering my questions. You had such beautiful answers and creative ones too. Chocolatey ones. I was surprised. I was really, really surprised.
Yeah, nice that I bring some sweet stuff.
Yeah, of course you would. You brought a plethora of sweet pastries to my birthday dinner, and it was amazing.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah.
So I'm not surprised, actually, but well, actually, I think we've reached the end.
Yeah. Is it time to announce our break?
Yes, absolutely. So,
all right.
As you can imagine, after this long season but beautiful one, we are going to take a short break between season 1 and season 2. Before we dive deeper in the little details, I would like to say a huge, huge thank you to you, Mais, for being my co-host, my partner in crime, my best business partner as well, creative partner, because I had the time of my life making this podcast with you and sharing it with our beautiful listeners and creating something so magical together.
Yeah. Thank you so much to Lucy. All of that, and plus, I mean, apart from all of that value that we created with this project, what I really love is that we will now have 24 hours of us talking online forever that we can always go back to years later as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of amazing. Our younger selves talking to each other about all of these brilliant stuff. I just love that. And it's been such a pleasure to do this with you.
Same. Honestly, same. And I already am looking forward to season 2, which actually, let's do our little announcements now.
Yes, I'm so looking forward to it.
Yes, so we will indeed be back for season 2 of the Soft Edges podcast after a well-needed and well-deserved break during which we will prepare for season 2. You don't want to miss that one. And the day of our grand return is on July 4th.
Yes.
So a little over 2 months from now as this episode is being released. And our next literary adventure is, would you like Mayas to do the honors?
Yes, please. The next book we'll be reading is Undrowned, Black Feminist Lessons from Marine Mammals by Alexis, Pauline, Gumps. I cannot wait for this. I'm so excited. Another brilliant book. I recommend all our listeners to grab a copy and start reading with us. So excited for this.
Oh, yes, I'm so excited. I already ordered it actually, so I'm gonna receive it very soon. And I can't wait to dive deeper and see what we can create and learn and share from this beautiful book.
It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. So beautiful.
I can't wait. So remember, folks, July 4th, we will be back for season 2 of the Soft Edges podcast with yet another literary treasure. And last but not least, thank you from the deepest of our souls and hearts for joining us on this journey, this adventure, for listening to our podcast and following along Adrienne Maree Brown's masterpiece of a book. Not only do we hope that you enjoyed your time with us, but most importantly, we hope that you learned a thing or two about pleasure embodiment, and that by hearing about the various experiences of all of the beautiful souls who participated to this book, you took a couple steps further on your own personal path to liberation.
Exactly. We really miss being with you every Sunday, but it'll go fast enough. And until then, until our second season, we will share some highlights from our first season on our Instagram page, IGTV as well.
We will keep in touch, and we may or may not release some exclusive bloopers as well to keep you waiting.
Yes! Oh my god.
Some very funny bloopers. The video will be released on YouTube. Maybe, maybe not. You'll have to see. You'll have to tune in. You'll have to keep up with our Instagram at Soft Edges Podcast.
Yes. And lastly, my eternal gratitude to the wonderful Adrienne Maree Brown and everyone who participated in this incredible book as well.
Yes, thank you for changing our lives and for supporting us, helping us through our path to liberation and pleasure. We are eternally grateful to all of you.
Absolutely.
Yes, well, that's it then. Thank you again for your support. We love and appreciate you more than you know. And it's been a pleasure. We send you lots of love, and until July 4th.
See you on our second season.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening to our 12 episodes first season of the Soft Edges podcast. And a huge thank you to Patrick Valinga for making our beautiful music, to Yuri Sato for creating our incredibly gorgeous graphic design, and to Alize Eno Warthausen for capturing our fabulous portraits. While we take a little break from publishing episodes, and if you'd like to keep up with what we're up to in the meantime, feel free to follow us on Instagram at Soft Edges Podcast. We'll release a few fun recap snippets from our past episodes on there. And also, as I mentioned before, we may or may not release some exclusive bloopers. So just saying, you should keep in touch with us. But thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you on July 4th for season 2. Bye.